This is the story of Treasure Island. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this. Let's begin now.
A life on the ocean wave, a home on the rolling deep, where the scattered waters rave and the winds their revels keep. The winds, the winds, the winds their revels keep. The winds, the winds, the winds their revels keep.
Welcome aboard the good ship Medfield. She's a stout ship that could easily bring back all the pirate gold one could imagine. I mean, all the nondescript cargo one can imagine. But we're forming our crew and preparing to set sail. Won't you join us on a commercial voyage of no real significance? But first, let me introduce you to our crew. The ship's doctor, Mr. Michael Crawford. How's it going, my brother?
It's festive grog at my side, so I'm ready to set sail.
We have the cook aboard this here vessel. He be a man of mysterious origins, Mr. Andy Brown. Andy, how's it going? I didn't know he was a Klingon, but he is.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Does my pirate speak? Then it's tough to understand.
And we have the captain there, Mr. Robert McSwain. Robert, how's it going tonight?
I feel like I need to dial back the rum ration here on our cook. I think he's gotten a taste for the rum.
And I be the first mate, Jeff Crawford. I'm not prone to the rum drinking or plum duff, though, at least not whilst recording podcasts. So, if you can't tell by our funny talk here, we got a trip aboard the high seas, don't we, Michael? What are we watching this week?
Yeah, we are going to be watching the 1950 Disney classic Treasure Island, written by Lawrence Edward Watkin, he of writing Darby O'Gill and the Little People, The Great Locomotive Chase, and several others. He also wrote the book upon which Spin and Marty serials were based.
What a guy.
So he had a little bit of everything. Directed by Byron Haskin, who had been a camera operator, cinematographer guy at Warner Brothers before, who had previously worked on some pirate films like The Sea Hawk with Errol Flynn and The Sea Wolf, a lot of things. It's produced by Perce Pierce, who had started as an animation director for the Disney classics like Snow White, all those, and then moved on to producing the early Disney live action features. We've got Bobby Driscoll starring, who had been one of the first two live action actors under contract to Disney when he signed for Song of the South in 1946. We've got Robert Newton as Long John Silver, Basil Sydney and Finley Curry. Also notable in the crew is Freddie Young, the cinematographer. He would go on to become an Oscar-winning legend for his work on David Lean films like Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago. Yeah, and he also shot You Only Live Twice. So a lot of, and many, many, many more. This was the first completely live action Disney film ever made. It followed some movies like Song of the South and So Dear to My Heart that had animated portions. And originally this was supposed to have animated segments, like stories that Long John Silver would tell to Jim, and they would be, animated cutaways to these tall tales. But eventually they just did it all live action. It was shot in England because all of Disney's funds were locked up there after the war. You couldn't take your money out of the country. You had to spend it there. So every pound that they earned in England, they had to spend in England. So they shot a bunch of movies over there. And it was quite a thing. A lot of location photography. They got a real ship to shoot on, as we'll talk about, I'm sure. And Bobby Driscoll, the only American in the cast, they got into some trouble with that because he did not have a labor pass, to work. A labor card cleared to work in England. he was too young to get one. So they basically shot his scenes illegally. And then they got caught and were taken to court, and him and his dad and I guess Disney were each fined like 100 pounds apiece. But while it was on appeal, they just hurried up and shot all the rest of his scenes and then got him out of the country. So this is kind of guerrilla filmmaking. And the director later said that it was kind of hard for him because they shot all of Driscoll's scenes like way up front at the start of the movie and then didn't have him the rest of the time.
Oh, that explains some shots then that we'll talk about later.
Yeah. So a lot of behind the scenes drama that I was completely unaware of. But yeah, based on the old novel by Robert Louis Stevenson. So
yeah,
classic.
Bobby Driscoll, I always think of as like Walt must have thought of him as an avatar for his childhood. I mean, there was some connection between the two of them that is very strong. So I'm sure he stuck his neck out for him pretty strong in that regard.
Yeah, I got a feeling so. I mean, the way he signed him on early for Song of the South and the way the projects he put him in, yeah, that's a great point. There had to have been some sort of connection there.
So we get Bobby, a real Disney treasure. Well, Clifton Parker on the music, who I'd never heard of, but he had done a lot of work himself and did a bunch of work. So it was before they got their stable up. But there were, you had Peter Ellenshaw was there. There's a couple of people there that were that would go on to be part of the studio machine for Disney going forward. A lot of movies we've seen have benefited from them. So this is the very beginning of that.
Yeah, it is always funny to watch these early movies, the very, very early ones, and where they would just hire, like especially with Song of the South, they would hire Todd, and it's completely different from the films we mostly talk about from the 60s and 70s, where you see the same names every movie. Like they were bringing in just whoever they could get, top name talent, and because they didn't have anybody at the studio.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask. Was it, were they having to like borrow them from other studios, or because everyone was under contract back then? So
yeah, I don't know how much the technical people were. That's a good question, but yeah, like the director of this came from Warner Brothers, and I'm not sure how that worked, but I would assume there was some of that involved.
Well, Andy, you've, like we said, we always say these days, you've kind of gotten up to speed on, the kind of bread and butter of stuff we worked on the last. That Darn Cat 2 episodes ago was just like right down the middle of stuff you're used to. This a little bit different. So had you ever seen this movie before?
I don't think I had. If I had, it had been a very long time, and it's probably just a few scenes. But honestly, it was because I was so familiar with the story from, of course, reading the book and school. And then also I could not help but separate this from Muppet Treasure Island, which I love.
Yes.
And so because of that, I was like, everything felt very familiar. But as far as the movie itself, I can't say that I'd actually seen it all, I think.
Yeah, I don't actually know if I've seen it all the way through, to be honest. I know I've seen a lot of it, but I probably have, but I don't know. I can't say that I have for sure. Some of those beats did not seem super familiar to me. They did from the story, like you said, but not visually. So, yeah. Robert, you have a history with this one? Was it?
Yeah, it's a pretty deep history. My dad loved it, and I think we had it on VHS for a while. Then he went and upgraded to the DVD version.
Oh, hey.
And he would watch it a lot. And that was like, he just, if we were going to put a movie on, that was one of the ones he wanted to see. And I believe he said he saw, because it came out when he was 3, he wanted, I think he said he watched it on television. It aired like on TV when he was like 7 or 8.
That sounds about right, because they put it on the Disneyland TV show. It never went into re-release in theaters, but they put it on the Disneyland TV show. So that's probably where he saw it.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then he said he just fell in love with it. He loved it then. And big Robert Newton fan.
Well, yeah, It's pretty magnetic. Did your dad, maybe that answered the question. I was going to ask, who do you think your dad saw himself as in this film?
Well, he saw himself quoting Long John Silver the most, but I'm sure he was Jim Hawkins. Was who
he changed over time,
Yeah, I guess as a father, he was always he seemed to be favoring Long John Silver.
He's like secret desire to be Long John Silver,
The black dog.
The black dog.
I really identify with the black dog.
Yeah.
I had never seen this, I don't think, all the way through until Leonard Maltin showed it on TCM back sort of middle of the last decade when they were doing those Disney nights on TCM. And I think that's the first time I saw it all the way through.
Yeah, it wasn't part of our rotation, and probably because I don't remember them showing this on the Disney Channel. Most of our stuff comes from rips from the Disney Channel or what was on home video, and this was on home video, but I don't remember ever getting that.
Yeah, I don't remember ever getting it. Well, a funny thing about it is they finally re-released it in theaters in, I believe it was 1975, and when it first came out, there wasn't the rating system that they had in the 70s. So they had to rate it in the 70s, and it was rated PG. And Disney still at that point in 1975 had a policy of no PG movies, only G-rated movies. We will only release G-rated movies. So they got in a back and forth with MPAA, and they wound up cutting a lot of the movie to get it down to a G rating.
Out.
And the first home video releases, I think, were probably an edited version until DVD came around, and they finally put out the full version. So
very interesting.
Censorship.
We should also mention, that was around the time of Matacumbe.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
In fact, Disney Plus, when I finished watching this, suggested Matacumbe to me.
Same. I was surprised it didn't recommend Treasure Planet. Come on.
Yeah, I got Treasure Planet.
Oh, interesting.
They recommended that one too.
Okay.
Matacumbe. I should also mention, and we'll talk about his performance, but Robert Newton, everything we think of now as pirate talk, talk like a pirate day, anytime people act or talk like pirates, basically comes from this performance. That's how long a shadow it casts.
That's what I was reading. This was a couple of years ago, and I was astounded by that too.
Yeah, he was from the West Country, from Cornwall, and that was not just pirate talk back then. It was just how he talked and did up this accent for this character, and that just has somehow become just what everybody thinks of as pirate talk, which is pretty wild.
That's great, Bob. That's great. We really like your accent. What accent?
Yeah, thank you. But also, it's you can see the direct line from production design to Pirates of the Caribbean. It's just a dead lift to some of the people just look like animatronics. It's crazy.
Oh, totally.
They're wearing the same clothes. It's just a copy and paste.
They found some really rugged folks to be for this movie.
Yes.
People who look like wooden carvings.
Some crusty men here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to get into this thing.
Did Andy say if he liked it or not?
Yeah, he kind of hinted that he didn't quite like it as much.
Okay.
You're just used to it. It's like wallpaper, you just ignore it as you walk through the room. Andy,
does it really matter?
We'll find out. Andy, take us on the high seas. Let's shove off. Repel the borders, or whatever they say.
Cast the lines.
You done, Robert?
No.
I. Cargo Pictures. Have we seen this intro?
We have. Was it Three Caballeros?
It would be Caballeros. Yeah. Before Buena Vista was A Twinkle in the Eye.
Fun and Fancy Free. Those are the only two, probably.
Okay, well.
It's different.
Yeah, well, immediately from the music, you know that this is an adventure picture. You know what else tells you it's an adventure picture? The Jolly Roger flapping in the wind. Yes, the credits to Treasure Island roll over a map of the actual Treasure Island with adventurous fanfare blaring. And you guys may have, but I didn't recognize any of the names of the actors and, people who worked on this movie in the credits, but I'm sure some of you did. So we open on a shot of a rocky coast and the quote from the author Robert Louis Stevenson: "If buccaneers and bury gold and all the old romance retold exactly in the ancient way can please me, or please as me, they please of old, the wiser youngsters of today, so be it." What'd you guys think of that?
I say, give me a little literature at the top. It's just, you're heading in the right direction. That's all I'm going to say.
A little taste.
They were really into this. I'm surprised they didn't have the Treasure Island book and opened it, but they couldn't help themselves to have a little something. That one yet. Yeah.
They needed a chest of gold that they just pull up out of it comes the book. And then they go into
stop motion, looking classy.
Yeah. All right. Well, the rocky shoreline pans inland and we get England, 1765, West Coast, that is. The camera continues on towards the coast, and there's a gentleman making his way towards the Admiral Benbow. I think that's how you say it. Benbow Tavern.
Yeah, just while we're there, I think, in the first act, especially when you're on land, I feel like you see Disney going for some stuff that is unusual. It's a really evocative kind of, I wonder if it's like art direction coming from animation background, but there's some matte painting, some really interesting perspectives on some of these buildings and shots. It almost looks animated, kind of. There's definitely some illustration involved, but kind of different, kind of interesting.
The face on the sign of the Admiral Benbow Tavern looks just like Admiral Benbow. That's exactly what I would imagine he looked like. Right away, though, we can tell something is up with this guy because he doesn't walk in immediately. He's kind of casing out the joint, all suspicious like. And he enters the place and it's empty, except for a young boy, a young Jim Hawkins manning the bar. And the stranger demands a glass of double rum.
Double rum.
This guy's really rough looking too. Looking like he's not had a wash in some time.
What's up with the makeup department in this area?
Man, I was going to say the same thing.
It's the best they can do.
He spent some time in the makeup chair. Maybe he didn't spend enough time. Maybe that was more
I don't know.
They put it on with a putty knife, whatever it was.
I will say it's super weird to see really, really, really early Disney films from kind of the tail end of the golden age of Hollywood that look like something you'd see on TCM. It doesn't look like what I think of as a Disney movie. It looks like a TCM movie because it's something that would be from MGM or Warner Brothers from back in the day.
Yeah. Very different feel.
Well, this guy inquires about the place and the owner, which we find out is Jim's mother, and she's gone to town. And this guy starts asking if a fella by the name of William Bones, Captain William Bones, had ever come through. And he kind of gets close to Jim's face. And when he did that, I couldn't help. I was like, man, I bet you that dude's breath stunk something awful.
Yeah, I bet there was some real bad breath on the set. Be sure to bring your breath mints.
He kind of pulls away and we see this nasty looking scar coming across his face. Well, Jim says he's not seen William Bones, but the stranger notices a chest under the stairs with the initials WB.
Can I just say that Billy needs to chill with the glitter initialing? I mean, if you're trying to hide it, come on, man.
Come on. Yeah, we got the little door open on his customized trunk. I was like, be a little more subtle, please.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when this guy sees it, he just immediately hightails it out of there like he's on a mission.
So we're supposed to believe that William Bones is on the lam here, like he's hiding out.
That is my understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. hiding out with a chest with WB.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like
keeps in the main room.
That's right.
It's like some kind of preteen's little chest of memoirs, like with the glitter on it, it's kind of.
I've got to keep my trinkets close by, just in case I want to hightail it out of here.
I glued on all the macaroni, but it came off.
Class of '83, it was. We hope you have a good summer. It's been great having class with you.
Yeah, when you open the lid, it plays a little sound.
The best dancer I ever seen it was. She dances around in circles.
It plays yo ho ho in a bottle of rum.
Well, soon after, an elderly Captain William Bones appears, looking pretty rough from the top of the stairs, and he asked Jim if that was the one-legged man, and Jim says it wasn't, but this guy had a terrible scar across his face, and old Billy Bones immediately knows that was Black Dog, an old shipmate of his, and says that the one-legged man isn't far off.
I like he says, I got to pull my strength together, Jim. Got to get out of here. And takes a swig. I feel like that's a line I could use, to like younger people. Hey, I got to get my strength together. Got to get out of here.
That's right.
Rum.
Yeah.
He is looking rough, though. It's like Captain Bones.
Feels like that's not entirely acting. There's some tread on the tires.
Yeah,
it's like Uncle Billy from It's a Wonderful Life if he was a pirate.
Or I was going to say Darby O'Gill.
Oh man, Darby.
So as Jeff said, Billy Bones demands some rum from Jim, but Jim says he can't because he promised the doctor he wouldn't give him any. Well, old Billy Bones is one thirsty fella, and he just shoves Jim out of the way. And Jim begs
I'm beginning
him.
to think he's got a drinking problem, this guy.
Yeah, it seems like it's a crutch for him.
Jim begs him not to have a sip, and he even threatens to run to the town and fetch the doctor and the squire himself. Billy says he needs the rum to get his strength back, just like Jeff said, so they can get out of there. And Jim has had enough. And he leaves the tavern to get the doctor, but immediately is met by another strange man, this time a blind one dressed in black and wearing a cloak.
I love the pirate method of being visited by a series of randos.
Yeah.
Instead of just like doing your business, they're like, we will send, it's like Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to send you 3 random visitors one by one to like carry out the phases of our plot.
Yeah. You think Billy or Black Dog could have had what he needed to deliver to the Bones on hand, and not have to run out and grab the other guy, the next guy in line.
Give him some time to get away.
It's a very Scott Evil from Austin Powers, being like, Dad, why are we going through all this? Just shoot him and he's dead.
Shoot him.
Just kill the guy right here.
Just kill the guy right here.
It's over.
Tough day of work for the kid.
Oh yeah,
well, busy afternoon at the tavern.
Yeah, his very, very pained expressions that made me feel his pain. I was like, man, Bobby, really dialing up the horror face here.
Well, this guy, he grabs Jim and he demands that he takes him to see Captain Billy Bones, or he will break Jim's arm. Billy Bones sees the man known as Blind Pew, and Pew has a gift for him from his old shipmates. Now this one, all right, I'm going to do this the entire time though, I think, but in the Muppet Treasure Island, Blind Pew cracked me up. Do you guys remember that? I mean, the guy's like, I'm a blind pew.
Does he keep running into stuff over and over again?
Yeah, it's hilarious. He's great. So Pew puts something in Billy's palm saying, and now it's done. And then he kind of he really gets out of there. I mean, he's light as a feather, and he spins and closes the door behind him. You'd never know he was blind. I mean, maybe he's like Daredevil or something. So what did Pew give Billy? Well, it was a piece of parchment with a black spot in the middle. And on the back side, it says, until dark. Well, Billy knows that this means they're coming for him, and he doesn't have long. But he says that they won't get him. What's mine is mine, he says. Jim helps Billy over to the chest that has his glittery initials on it. And under the stairs, when Jim tries to help him open it, Billy, again, just shoves him pretty hard.
Yeah.
And after unlocking it, Billy cuts away at the cloth top interior, and he pulls out a folded piece of paper and quickly stuffs it down his shirt. Very suspicious like again. Well, this is about the time the rum kicks in, because as soon as he stands up to make a break for it, he comes crashing right back down. Jim is worried about the captain, and he tries to help him, but then Billy kind of comes to, and he says, "The old hawk's grounded, Jim. Can't shove off." Now, that's a line I'm going to use, I think, for the rest of my life right there. When anytime anybody wants me to do anything, I'm like, the old hawk's grounded. Can't shove off.
Can't shove off.
Yeah, and he asks Jim to go get some help. Well, before fetching help, Billy shoves the mysterious piece of paper down Jim's shirt, saying, "If them mutton heads that slipped me the black spot gets here before you get back, they won't find that one on me."
Muttonhead. That's a good one, too.
That's a good one. Yeah, mutton heads. Jim, being a good lad, runs off as instructed as Billy gives him a parting luck, matey. Well, sometime later, a rowboat lands on the shore with Black Dog and a group of men jumping out, and they make their way toward the Admiral Benbow Tavern, and they tear the place apart when they arrive. But as soon as they hear the horse hooves of someone coming, they just kind of skedaddle out of there. And then the horses approaching are that of Dr. Livesey and Squire Trelawney and his men, and then, of course, young Jim. Well, Trelawney's men pursue the tavern intruders, and they have a brisk gunfight. But meanwhile, Jim leads the doctor and Trelawney into the tavern, where they find Billy Bones already dead of either shock or rum. Squire Trelawney wonders what those rascals wanted from William Bones, and Jim spills the beans about the piece of paper that Billy had given him just before he left. And it turns out that paper is actually a map locating a buried treasure of over 700,000 pounds. The treasure belonged to the famous buccaneer Captain Flint. Did you guys know who Captain Flint was? Was that something well known?
Not to me.
Yes.
To me, yeah.
Okay.
Very famous.
I didn't know. Well, Trelawney is as happy as a schoolboy when he realizes what they have in their hands, and when his men return saying that the intruders got away, Trelawney quickly sends them along, and he doesn't want to let on that what they're now in possession of. So then he talks a bunch of gibberish that I honestly could not make out.
Trelawney is a lot.
Yes.
He's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And I could not make out what he was saying, but I did discern that he wanted to hire a crew and get a ship and set sail to find this treasure, insisting that the doctor and Jim come along. The good doctor tries to talk some sense into the squire, and even point blank says Trelawney can't keep his mouth shut. And that's just inviting trouble. But Trelawney says, he'll be silent as the grave. And he tells Jim that he'll even be a cabin boy. It's like, thanks. Jim's eyes light up at the thought of being a cabin boy and begs the doctor to put in a good word with his mother so that she'll let him go. And the doctor agrees as Trelawney celebrates. Well, around 10 days later, young Jim and the doctor arrive in Bristol, and they arrive in the Bristol Flyer coach, which was pretty sweet. And Bristol, I tell you what, is a happening place. Mm-hmm. All sorts of characters about.
Seeing these sets and the matte paintings of Bristol made me think of Disney's America theme park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Even though that was England, but I mean,
if only. I would talk about the production design of this area and like the inn that they go to, but it is all on point, big time.
Yes, big time with the sets.
Oh, yeah.
Jim spots Squire Trelawney stepping on a goose, and he walks towards him, and he's quite decked out too with his clothing choices. I mean, so much so that even the doctor refers to him as Admiral Trelawney. Trelawney greets them with a jaunty ahoy and takes them to see their ship, the Hispaniola.
Robert, did Trelawney remind you of a certain impression that we do very often, the happy version of it? This is nice. It's very good. It is. This is good.
Look at that. You mentioned it. Yes.
It's pretty spot on with that. Look around. Oh, yes, this is very nice. It's very good.
So right away, we see some shady characters noticing the Englishmen who've arrived. And they're quick to eavesdrop on their conversation. And good grief, if Trelawney can't keep his mouth shut, my goodness.
He talks.
He also yells everything he says. It's like he can't control the volume of his voice. And the whole town is aware of what's going on and what they're after. And Trelawney says that their captain, Captain Smollett, is quite a man, but he's too picky about finding a crew, having only hired 6 men so far. Well, Trelawney says he offered to step in and help, but the captain told him to hire a sea cook. So he did. And bragging that he didn't waste any time poring over the cook's credentials, since all he needed was a taste of his ham and buttered eggs.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The three wannabe adventurers enter the tavern of Long John Silver, the sea cook Trelawney hired. Immediately, we see Silver, and it's clear he's kind of up to something already. He's kind of shushes away another guy, again, very suspicious like. And John Silver welcomes his new employers, inviting them to have a seat at a table. And as they sit down, Silver brings them a plate of food, and Jim suddenly realizes that Long John Silver only has one leg, remembering the warning that Billy Bones had talked of. And Silver catches Jim staring and is quick to pick up that Jim is wary of him. And all right, so you touched on this at the top of the show, but you know, I don't think we can go any further with like you said, without addressing Long John Silver in the way he talks. But because I had a tough time taking any of it seriously at this point, because it felt so played and so ridiculous. And, since everything's such a derivative of that now, but I had to remind myself that this was probably like you said, this was like the first movie where this kind of talk, this old sea dog lingo was really used. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, like this and this in this accent kind of way. And it's so funny. Exactly what you say. Like, it feels like he's doing like the oldest trick in the book and the total like stereotype. Like, this is ridiculously over the top, but it was like the first, it's like everybody's copying him who does it.
Yeah.
You can tell they're giving him the time to do all these performances. And, a lot of it's just like close up shots of him throughout this movie.
Like bug-eyed.
Yeah. And they're just like, keep it on him. So it's a magnetic performance for the time, and then, like you said, now it feels just like the thing.
Yeah.
Central casting.
Trelawney and Jim, not too street smart.
No,
in there picking up on social cues from this guy, because why would you trust this guy? It's crazy.
Well, so they've already been warned that there's a one-legged man out there that's not to be trusted, and yet it can't be this. There's got to be more than one, right? I mean,
I thought it'd be a good gag that they could have done that could have been subtle, where the food was always really bad. They're just like, oh, what is up with this food? Why is it so bad?
Yeah. Or like the doctor and Jim hate it, but Trelawney loves it.
Yeah. This is very good. I like it.
Enjoy the ham. Tasty. Very pleasant ham. Yes, sir.
Silver talks with his new employers, spinning tales of how he learned to be such a good sea cook when he sailed under some other guy. Meanwhile, a table full of some sketchy looking dudes are laughing over in the corner as if they know everything Silver is saying has very little truth in it. And Silver keeps blowing smoke up Trelawney's undercoat, and Trelawney lets on that he doesn't have enough crew for his coming adventure, but Silver offers up a bunch of his former shipmates as crew, who just happen to be available and ready to go. Silver says that they may be rough looking too, but they're often overlooked because some might not like the cut of their jib. Great line. Trelawney is buying every bit of this, hook, line, and sinker, and exclaims that he wants those men as his crew. Long John says that he knows that these men will be great because he knows every seaman around like the back of his hand. And that's when Jim calls him out, asking if he knew the pirate Billy Bones. And Silver kind of pauses and then just lets out his huge laugh and just laughs off all this talk of pirates. But in order to keep a close eye on Jim, he asks Trelawney if he could borrow Jim for the rest of the day to assist him around the tavern since he's shorthanded. Well, Trelawney agrees under a mild protest from Jim, and he and the doctor leave for the time being as Silver puts Jim to work right away clearing tables. Well, once back in the kitchen, Jim meets Long John's pet parrot, who he calls Captain Flint. Which I believe is the only female in this movie. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it's so weird to me that they mention Jim's mom right at the very top, but we never see her. Nope. And we never see them convincing her to let her kid go off with these random people on a pirate adventure. Yeah. Which seems just very strange to me.
Silver kind of charms Jim with the bird, and he talks like of course, I think Silver, I'll back up. Silver, to me, I always thought he got that because of his silver tongue, the way he talked. Is that? I think I made that connection like even in high school or whatever. And so I didn't know if that still worked, if you guys caught on to that or not.
That's a great theory.
Yeah. So, but during all this talk, a man orders a glass of double rum. Remembering the voice and the familiar order, Jim turns around and it's Black Dog again and yells at his name, Black Dog. Black Dog's like, uh-oh. He recognizes the kid, takes off running. Jim's yelling after him, stop him. And Long John orders that table full of sketchy guys. He's like, yeah, go get him. And those guys, they grab Jim instead.
I laughed at that. That was a good gag.
And Silver's,
like, no.
He annoyingly kind of corrects them. He's like, no, you dummies. And he's like, go get that guy. And Jim asks Jim how he knew who that was. And Jim begins to divulge where he knew Black Dog from, as some of these other sketchy guys kind of lean in and listen. Jim kind of recognizes that he should probably stop talking as these guys are surrounding him, and they definitely look the part of the same men who tore up his mother's tavern going after Billy Bones. He still lets on that Black Dog is a pirate, and Long John tells the rest of the shady looking men to go after Black Dog as well, and brings Jim back inside his tavern, and he says he has no kindness for them cutthroats, and gives Jim a small pistol which was given to him by Admiral Hawk. Well, Silver says that he's off to find the rest of the crew, and when he returns, he and Jim will be shipmates. I wanted to point out something that I noticed here. It's probably just me, but I think, what's the actor who played Long John Silver? Robert Newton.
Robert Newton.
Yeah.
He looks like an old Shia LaBeouf. You can see, what was Shia's character's name from Even Stevens?
Lewis
Stevens.
Yeah. There's a lot of same facial mannerisms that are being used, and I just wanted to point that out.
Robert Louis Stevens. Interesting. Connected. The clues were all there.
Right under our noses.
Well,
all I could see is like Jim's head turning into a giant sucker. Like in an old cartoon, as he's like, maybe this one-legged guy is really, he gave me a gun. He's got to be a cool dude.
I was just about to say, all this is working on Jim. I mean, he's so quick to put aside his concerns for Long John, the one-legged man who he's been warned about. In fact, he instantly trusts him. It's just so strange. Weird. Honestly, I didn't like that part. I wanted to ding this story because of that. Well, sometime later, Jim, Long John, and the crew they paddle out to the ship, the Hispaniola, and they climb aboard. And right away, Mr. Arrow, the ship's first mate, can tell something is up just by the looks of these guys coming aboard. Also, Mr. Arrow, famously played by Sam the Eagle in Mother's.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
It was perfect casting. Trelawney welcomes them aboard and congratulates Silver on finding a crew and introduces them to the ship's captain, Captain Smollett. And Smollett orders Mr. Arrow to record the names of the crew. And meanwhile, he'd like to speak with Trelawney and the doctor in his cabin. The three men share a toast to their voyage, but Captain Smollett speaks plainly to his employer, saying he doesn't like this commission or this crew. And Trelawney, he's like, blah, blah, and he's very insulted. He's like, oh, you don't like your employer. And he starts to run his mouth until the good doctor kind of reels him back in. He's like, let's hear the captain out. Well, the captain says that he knows the word has gotten out about where they're going and what for. And he fears that this has attracted an unfit crew. Well, Trelawney says that he hasn't said a word, and there's a kind of nice BS reaction from the doctor.
Yeah,
he's like, "Yeah, right. I know exactly you've been running your mouth." Well, the captain continues on about the safety precautions, and Trelawney blows a gasket until Dr. Livesey steps in and agrees with the captain. And they make arrangements for how to stay safe and prevent a possible mutiny.
I was just so relieved by the captain because I'm like, at least finally someone with sense.
Yes.
Someone to be like, hey, these guys are all so sketchy. What are you doing?
The three men finally raise their glasses in a toast, and Captain Smollett reassures them that he will do his duty. While still acting like a child, Trelawney says that he finds the captain's attitude to be un-English. I didn't care for Trelawney. The captain gives Mr. Arrow the orders to weigh anchor, and they set sail, and we get a nice short montage of sailors making the ship ready, and as they head out to the high seas and setting us up for Act 2.
Weigh anchor, Mr. Arrow.
All hands on deck. Man the windlass. Who's the topsail? Anchor's away, sir.
With the subtitles on, we continue our adventure as our brave captain emerges from his cabin as crewmen go about their business, keeping the ship on a steady course. The captain is still a tad skeptical, though. He gives his commands to his trusty first mate, Mr. Arrow. As one of the crew bends over in the longboat, Mr. Arrow spots a sidearm. Avast! Avast there! As George Merry introduces himself, the captain scolds him and confiscates the weapon and warns the crew that further violations will result in 12 lashes.
Tell you, I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, not enough discipline in this movie. Seems like there's a lot of threat of discipline, but then like letting a lot of stuff by. It's like, guys.
Especially inexplicably with George Merry, who gets to coast multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm going to count to 10.
Yeah. I'm going to do it.
Young Mr. Hawkins asks Long John if he should turn his weapon in. Always the calculating pirate, Silver asks if he is responsible with it. No rum drinking, and he's not quarrelsome with like others aboard. Hawkins abides. George argues with the crew about getting his piece confiscated. The crew is more angry that George didn't keep it hidden better.
George.
And they'll lose their rum rations next. And he better abide by the orders of knives only in full sight.
George is the textbook buzzkill.
Yeah. Also, can we not get a better pirate name than George?
Yeah. George.
Mary says he's not keeping this one in sight and reveals one tucked in his boot. Just then, old Long John Silver reaches down and removes it, saying, "Ain't that a beauty now? Why, a knife like that could take down a gull, eh?" He throws it overboard at a gull.
Wow. I love the insert shot of the gull with the knife flying out at it.
Probably my favorite shot of the movie. That was
I'm
really
so glad
great.
you guys said it. I put that in my notes. I was like, good thing they showed us the knife going in the water.
So good. So good.
It's like,
so with the knife haphazardly sailing through the air and hitting the water with a anticlimactic plop. George, not too amused by Long John Silver's antics, says he's had enough. And Long John reminds him who the captain is and to leave Mr. Arrow to him. Seeing that Hawkins is listening, Long John changes his tune and says that Mr. Arrow is a friend of his. Slightly confused by his words and actions, Mary begrudgingly goes along. Jim naively accepts it as truth again. So many red flags here, Jim.
Yeah, really.
Jim's got to learn, man. He's young.
What's
everybody else's excuse?
For real.
Below deck in the galley, Silver is convincing Hawkins they need to do something to lighten Mr. Arrow's disposition. He's got the perfect solution. Plum duff. Always scheming, he asks if Jim's mom ever made it. And if she used rum. Jim says, good and strong, so the smell went up your nose.
I'm like, Jim, all right.
Yeah. Jim's mom, man. Free
Here,
with the
Jim,
rum.
have some plum.
Plum duff. Jim suggests they get some rum for cooking. Old Long John says the captain might suspect him of sneaking double grog. Jim suggests he asks Squire for some. Old Long John says he'll need to keep it a secret from the captain. Jim gives him a knuckle salute. Aye, Captain, and turns and runs off.
Jim, did we not watch Too Smart for Strangers, Jim? When grown-ups are asking you to keep secrets, you gotta tell someone.
See something, say something, Jim.
That's right, Jim.
That night, the ship is sailing through some strong gale. The crew is working above deck in the treacherous conditions. Long John is pulling his plum duff from the oven as his bird precariously perched above the prep table, which was bothering me quite a bit, that his bird's wandering around over the prep table where he's cooking.
That's not sanitary.
Yeah, that's not smart. Come on, you'd be a better cook than that. He douses the cake with rum as the bell tolls.
See, that's why the alcohol kills it, so don't worry about
it. He douses the cake with rum as the bell tolls for the watch change. The door opens as Long John watches the crew change and water pours in from above. He asks Mr. Arrow to spare a minute before he goes topside. He offers him some plum duff special for him. Mr. Arrow gives a satisfying grunt and digs in. Long John gives him another douse of rum and leaves the bottle, and to the delight of Mr. Arrow, who goes straight for the drinking.
Mr. Arrow, with a delightfully obscure performance here, is basically like,
he's Frankenstein's monster.
Yes, absolutely.
Silver takes a post by the stairway and gets a snort of snuff up his nose as George grabs an apple with his cutlass and aggressively takes a bite, to the delight of Long John. Did anyone else catch him snorting snuff up his nose?
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
Just like the heavy Apple presence in this movie. A lot of Apple industry presence here.
Yeah, Big Apple was really pushing it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Mr. Arrow emerges from the galley a little worse for wear. Long John Silver warns that he'll need his sea legs tonight. Mr. Arrow gives an agreeable "arr" and proceeds topside as George tries to stab him. Silver stops him.
George, come on. How are you going to make it? What's your exit strategy, George?
Yeah, have you thought this through, George?
Silver stops him and pushes Arrow up the steps and says he'll take care of him. The next day, a funeral for Mr. Arrow is underway. Washed overboard. As the captain finishes his eulogy, Long John says, "Amen."
I laughed so hard at that. Ridiculous.
Walt Disney snorting in the screening room over a bowl of chili.
Yeah.
That's right. That night, Jim is pestering the helmsman for a change and not pestering Long John Silver, wondering if they'll ever see land. He says the crew always gets quarrelsome towards the end of a voyage. All the beer is gone and the water keg is crawling.
Hey, mister, what you doing with that big wheel? Hey, mister, hey.
What a different movie would have been with Moochie out there.
You let your water hang too long and it's crawling.
I don't think I want to know what crawling water is. Like if that's like a term or
drink the crawling water. You get the hydrophobia.
I think you need some apples. Get yourself an apple and be all right.
You go and shoot.
I always feed the horses apples too because they like them.
When the last apple. Are we done?
Yeah. We'll stop.
When the last apple's ate, we'll sight land. Jim runs off to grab an apple with only a few rolling around the bottom of the barrel. He climbs in to grab one.
Yeah. They're going to need some on the way back too, aren't they?
Every land has some apples.
Well, they have a second barrel they haven't opened yet.
The Lord is good to me.
George and the others come out ready to start the mutiny. Jim overhears Long John Silver say, "There'll be no killing until I give the word."
Travis, you want to start a mutiny?
No, Elizabeth, go on. Get out of here.
You thought shooting a dog was fun. You're going to love this.
Hey there, what's a mutiny? Hey, what are you talking about?
Yippee! Like sitting astride a cannon.
with his head pointed down
What's
the
this
cannon.
do? Wow!
He got rid of Arrow and no one suspected anything, and not even young Mr. Alkins. The crew says they could use a stiff drink in a roundabout way while they wait. Long John Silver says to have an apple to stave off the desire and begins to stab his knife into the barrel. Just then we hear, "Land ho!" Jim tells the captain and the doctor and the squire that Long John Silver is planning a mutiny. Captain plans to get the crew arrested, and they'll need Jim to continue to be friends with Silver in the meantime.
Is this when Trelawney says, "I own myself an ass," which is a line I want to adopt now.
George Murray, still grumbling at the timing, he has decided to jump the guard and get them muskets as they pull the boat into harbor with the longboats. A fight breaks out as one of the pirates takes a shot to the face.
Yeah.
PG rating.
Yeah.
And the mutiny is put down.
I was thinking when you were talking about the scenes being cut, that was one I was like thinking of. Like,
Yeah.
Point blank shot in the face. Yeah. Why did they let Jim go along with Silver? That was so dumb.
Just take a moment though to talk about this shooting in the face. And that, like, I get so tired of take my moralistic stance, but I do get so tired of gratuitous violence in like every movie and TV thing now. It's just insane. And so this was like refreshing to see like people get stabbed and there's just like a little red mark on them and they're like, ouch, it stings. Oh, that stings. Instead of seeing somebody get their face beaten in and it just shows it forever. Like Fight Club opened up a seal that like
just a little dash of red and
you don't want like blood splattering on the camera and like dripping down.
So they arrest Murray and his men as Silver is in the longboat and heads to shore. Not before he takes Jim as a hostage. He calls back to Mary, referring to him as a blundering squid. Mary peeks out a cannon portal, and Long John Silver says he'll take Jim ashore until a treaty is made in exchange for Flint's map, and they head to the beach.
I got to say, Mary peeking out of that portal. This is a callback to the guy who got stuck in the bathroom on Boat Nicks. Remember that guy?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yes.
Same view.
Jim jumps off the boat and runs into the jungle as the swabs give chase.
See, I had a problem with that. He should have swum back to the ship. They could have just left him there.
They would have. If he swam back to the ship, they would have just gone after him in the boat and gotten him.
Yeah, they just
probably true.
But they could have shot him though with all the guns that they had.
Swim back to where your friends are with guns.
Exactly. Don't worry about the pirates because he got away. Then go back and swim back, and you're good to go.
Okay, you're saying don't run off in the jungle, just go hide, and then swim back to the boat.
Exactly. Okay. Lose the tail and get back to the boat.
But he was so scared, he just took off on a dead heat because he got lost.
Jim has never been on an adventure before.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Jim jumps off the boat and runs into the jungle. Suddenly, a strange bearded man jumps off a rock face, startling Jim, who goes for his firearm.
Who's that guy? He reminded me of the character from Life of Brian, the guy that lives in a hole.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah. The hermit.
So I have a different person it reminds me of because a friend of the podcast played this character who we'll name Ben Gunn here in a second in a play. And that would be Mr. Dan Traharn.
No kidding.
Yes. And he really, he looked just like this guy in his makeup and his costume. So, the strange man begs for his life and addresses himself as Ben Gunn. He says he hasn't spoken with a Christian in 5 years, which begs the question, who's he been talking to?
Yeah.
Satan
who
himself.
Have you been talking to?
Ben, who was marooned by Flint, recognizes some of the crew as being Flint's former crew and asks if there's a one-legged man amongst them. Jim tells him what's going on, and Ben gives us some good crazed maroon gibberish for the next few minutes. He finally agrees to help Jim get back to the boat and scurries off, and literally scurries off.
I think Robert Louis Stevenson's editor should have caught this guy and said, all right, you don't need to scratch this guy from the story.
Yeah.
You don't need him.
Yeah.
He's a big part of the book, though, isn't he?
I don't remember exactly, but I remember
didn't remember either. So.
The captain heads to shore with the remaining crew to set up a base of operation at the stockade ashore. Ben shows Jim his handmade boat from goat skins and bamboo. They see the captain coming ashore. Back on board, George Mary escapes, quickly overtakes the deckhands. As Long John Silver hears the shots fired from the shore, he watches as the flag is quickly lowered and a pirate flag is raised. He gives a satisfied "Arr!"
It's not important, but how did he escape? I mean, it seemed very easy. It just seems like he walked out of the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the back door was
the door unlocked.
Yeah.
Oh,
come on.
I forgot that one.
that door. Also, should probably search everybody's luggage when they come on board for like pirate flags, just in case.
Oh, I made that same note. I was like, where did they get that pirate flag?
Just keep one on hand. You never know.
Every
and
form
no
of
pirate
flag available, even the pirate flag.
just in case. Make sure everyone's represented.
The pirates ignore the captain and the crew landing and make for the ship to get the muskets. Ben takes Jim to his stockade and then splits and says he'll talk with the captain at Spyglass Hill that night and ends with some more gibberish. Back on board, the pirates are getting loaded as Silver arrives, wanting to clap Mary in irons. The crew protests, and Silver agrees to let Mary walk. As long as they agree, he's the captain of this operation.
Silver throughout has some real PR issues or HR issues. Yeah. I feel like, you got to clap that dude in irons, man. It's no good.
They leave to fight instead of drink, heading to the stockade. At the stockade, they're preparing for battle. Silver says he's got a flag of truce and wants to come and talk terms. Silver says he wants Flint's map. They can do it with force or they can just hand it over, and Silver will spare their lives and leave them at the stockade and send help when he gets the chance.
Quick question. Who built that stockade?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. Where'd that come from?
Yeah. Oh, that's convenient. That it's just now that would make sense. They just never mentioned. I don't think
Croatan.
It was Flint's Island, and he on his map he had the stockade shown there.
Okay, thank you.
The captain says he'll take them all prisoner instead and sends Silver off. Silver warns the ones that die will be the lucky ones. They begin their assault and hold off the pirate attack. They decide to fight in the open, which didn't make any sense to me.
Why would you leave the bunker? That doesn't make any sense.
They grab one gun from their firing position. I'm like, just back up. So they can't do that again. Anyone pokes their head up into the hole, blow their head off.
Yeah, shoot them.
They decide to fight in the open again. Like I said, it doesn't make any sense. As the pirates retreat, Long John yells, "Oh, for 10 toes!" and finally takes aim at Smollett, which "Oh, for 10 toes" is one of my dad's favorite lines. He thinks that's hysterical.
When that one guy gets stabbed through the window, Jim's just like looks really shocked.
Oh, we get one of his textbook looks of horror. Also, back to the stabbing with little red makeup. You take the lipstick out and just put it across the chest.
Still Disney pulling no punches throughout all this.
It's true.
A lot of stabbing going on.
Silver takes aim at Smollett, shooting him in the shoulder. No blood. He just grabs his shoulder and goes, "Oh,
ouch,
ow." He falls down in the stockade, and we fade out to end Act 2.
If you come up here one by one, unarmed, I'll engage to cap you all in irons and take you home to a fair trial in England. You can't find the treasure, you can't sail the ship, and your cowardly scum can't fight. Now, bundle out of here, double quick.
Give me a hand up, will he?
Not I.
Who'll give me a hand, I say? So be it. But afore an hour's out, you'll be begging out from me. Them that die'll be the lucky ones.
You guys like the fighting and the double crossing so far? I mean, you want a lot more of it over and over again? Let's go.
Please.
We cut to Jim getting some water at dusk. He asks the doctor if the pirates will be back. The doctor says he doesn't know, but he also doesn't know a way out of this situation. He gives Jim the map, as it's his by right, and says he should buy his life with it if he needs to. Inside our captain is not so well. He says at flood tide tomorrow they could bring the ship close to shore and level the fort. Pirates don't have all the boats. Perhaps they could sabotage the ship. Jim hears the crew strategizing, grabs a knife, and sneaks off, crawling out through the grass and running toward the boat that Ben Gunn showed him. He rows out to the ship and hears the breaking of bottles and yelling, which, love some good Foley.
Great Foley.
When he looks down into the ship, he hears pirates arguing. He goes up to the helm and turns the wheel as far as he can. Meanwhile, he sees a pirate come up and get killed, followed by a pirate who is crawling out of below decks. Crawls over to the cannon to fire it to signal for help, and Jim is there to stop him.
Let me just say, at this point, I was like, "This is Jim has taken a complete turn for me."
Oh yeah,
like, Jim, you were doing something helpful. You're good at it. What's going on? It's like a totally different turn for him, and I'm like, I'm with you now, man.
He's a sponge, man. He's learning. He's surviving and thriving.
Crafty.
Yeah. So he crawls over to the cannon to fire it to signal for help. Jim is there to stop him. The pirate, in a weakened condition, is just reaching for Jim, but as he walks over, he collapses. So, but it's all a ruse. When Jim walks by, he grabs Jim's leg and trips him, which I really thought that was
Gotcha.
And the map falls out while the pirate grabs his gun, and the two are off on a very calm chase around the boat. Hey, I'm going to get you. Jim crawls up the mast. Yeah, this is another thing about, action movies at this time. It just, the cuts are a little different. The pace is a little slower.
I wanted like a Scooby-Doo-esque, like Jim run in one door and the pirate come out another door kind of thing. They chase each other. That'd be great.
The pirate also climbs up the mast. Jim has his pistol and is holding the pirate at bay, but the pirate slings his dagger and Jim shoots him and wastes him, Michael.
Yeah. Well, Jim says, "I'll blow your brains out." I was like, whoa.
Come on.
I didn't know that went back that far. Yeah. And then the guy just straight up stabs him in the shoulder.
Ow.
That's good to just think of, like, they would never show a kid in peril like this today.
I mean, that's very, I was shocked that I was like, dang. Well, the ship is running aground due to that steering that Jim did earlier, and he falls down off the mast as he's injured his shoulder from the dagger. Still has enough strength to take down that pirate flag and put up the Union Jack. So take that, man. Pirate jerks.
I got your flag.
Jim crawls off the ship and onto shore, dragging his pitiful shoulder and generally falling all over the place. This would be a fun thing to shoot,
Yeah, this was a real, Jim has had a night.
Yeah.
Jim has had quite a night, and he's coming back a little rough for the wear.
This is the shot I was talking about earlier. It looked like a body double on the wide shots.
Is like somebody from the circus coming in to do all those pratfalls.
Which made, it had to have been that they had to do some cover shots they didn't have him around for, or Bobby wasn't really good at stumbling in the jungle.
60-year-old Italian jockey or something like that. Where you wanted me to stand?
Well, suddenly he goes to Dagobah and is really having trouble with his shoulder.
Yes.
Putting dirty swamp water on it to see if he can get it infected. I don't know what's happening.
What are you doing, dude?
Maybe I should put this water on it. Oh, God, I'm hallucinating. Where's Yoda?
Any water is good water.
I'm supposed to see the Master Yoda. I have time for this. We're wasting our time.
It hurts.
Ow. Well, eventually he does. He seems delirious, so he's probably gotten it infected, but he eventually finds the fort as the day breaks, and he makes his way in, stumbling and bumbling. We got a lot of stumbling.
And why didn't anyone notice that Jim was gone?
Well, maybe they did, because inside he finds nobody there. There are people there, but actually it's Long John Silver who says matey, which is a great shot. It's like some comic book shots,
Yes.
that one was a real one. It's like really up in his face. Well, that makes old Jim faint. It's about time. Pirates say he's been blood poisoned, and Long John says, "Avast, leave him alone and fetch the water bucket. Don't let it hang too long." Well, the pirates don't like that, and we enter in a whole interlude of pirate
law.
Yeah, pirate law and council. Which, remember how in whatever Pirates of the Caribbean it was, they go into all this pirate law stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh,
he called for the parlay.
It's like-
Rules is rules.
so much lore. I'm like, man. But even in this, there's a little bit of like
pirate law. ABC
about as
needs like a
interesting.
pirate law series, like just a regular legal series, but
it's
about
like the
pirate law.
unfrozen caveman lawyer, but a pirate.
It's about as interesting as Trade Federation talk.
It is.
yeah.
It is. Yeah, it has the feeling of that. It really slows down the pace here. But
Frozen pirate lawyer. I sailed around Cape Horn and went to Antarctica, got froze, and now I'm a lawyer by day.
In the legal system, there are two parts.
parlay
He
and the
who
plank.
breaketh the laws, and the pirates who enforce them.
I'm here to serve you, a black spot.
These are their stories.
Oh man. Okay, so here we go. Pirates don't like that he's trying to tend to Jim. Long John holds his own yet again. I mean, somehow he is able to like always be in trouble with these guys, but also keep them at bay. It's a real skill,
Yeah, he walks a fine line. Also, why does he care about Jim so much?
Well,
See, that was
why
my
indeed?
question.
I think that is a deep question, guys.
I think that's like the root of the whole thing. I was like, do you think that Long John Silver actually cared for Jim, or was he just using him the entire time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not meant to know, I don't think, yet or ever, perhaps. Anyway, pirates decide to take their own counsel as Long John tends to Jim and nurses him. Well, Jim wakes up. Long John says when he walked in the other night, all the Brits were gone. He says, don't worry, they'll take good care of him. So where did the Brits go? It's like a lost colony situation.
Croatan.
Yeah. Well, he proceeds to crawl up to the top of the fort where he happens to see the ship grounded with the Union Jack flying. That's not good for him. He waves the white flag of truce and yells out to the doctor that they have the boy, and the doctor answers. So where did they go?
Just watching, I guess.
Yes, creeping. Captain Silver climbs down and the pirates come back from their council, and they've decided to give him the black spot. But it's
I love their little huddle
Yes.
they have outside when he's on the roof. Stop,
All right, sidebar, guys.
but it's from a Bible where they had to cut out a page. Now, I mean, I'm sure this is in the book, but this seemed like it went on. It's like, okay.
Who's got a black magic marker?
This is a Doug McSwain favorite right here. This scene
okay.
is
He loves pirate law.
black spot will shiver me timbers.
Long John, he chides the group for this, for taking the page of the Bible. And there's a little disagreement among the pirates.
I told you.
Yeah. Right.
Shouldn't have done it, George.
Oh, man. So, you can't fool this crew no longer. Step down. Long John says there'll be no voting until the map is settled. I get the map and figure out where this treasure is. The pirates don't like that, but the doctor's yelling for silver. There's a lot going on here,
Parliamentary procedure.
Doctor comes waving a white flag. He says, bring Jim out. And then this is like layers upon layers in a very short time of like, he's like, I'm going to go out, but I'm going to fool the doctor. I'm fooling Jim and I'm fooling the pirates. Everybody's getting fooled and making deals with everybody. So he makes Jim swear not to run off. And he goes to have parley with the doctor. Long John says if it wasn't for him, he'd have his throat cut. The doctor has Jim bite the bullet as he goes to work. Long John's doing his best to talk to the doctor, reveals he actually has the map already. He says he could guard the boy until the pirates are satisfied. He fears the gallows, so he doesn't want to get hanged. So he's trying to get the doctor to vouch for him, to save his life. if he can save Jim's. Seems like a hard deal to make, but
yeah, there's a lot of things in the air.
yes.
A lot of balls in the air for old Long John Silver at this point.
Yes.
It's a George Costanza lie that he's trying to keep afloat.
Yes.
He just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
Right. It's so true.
I've got 2 solariums.
Well, the doctor wants to speak to Jim alone. So Long John asks him to talk to him while he's doctoring him. Goes over to his pirate buddies and is like, hey, crazy day, huh? The doctor says, you're not going back to the pirates. He says they'll both make a run for it, but Jim gave his word not to. He's a child of honor. He decides to stay with pirates because he's, yeah. The doctor says he will do his best to save Silver, and they part ways yet again with Jim going back to the pirates.
Well, 2 things. First of all, Jim's suddenly better as soon as he gets the bandage on him.
Man, better. Just put some Neosporin on that thing. Let's go.
Good to
Rub
go.
some apple juice on it and let's keep moving.
And then the second, when the doctor says, when we're about to part, he says, good luck, Jim. And he just shakes his hand. And I'm like, that's very manly.
And he's like, ow, my shoulder.
Good luck. Yeah, it's pretty grody with I've got to open up the wound.
Yeah, PJ.
Yeah, bite down on the bullet, open up the wound, and put a slice of apple in there.
Right.
It'll soak up the poison.
You'd be growing sprouts out your hair.
I need my leeches.
Well, Silver reveals to the pirates the treasure map and resigns as the pirates protest now because he's like, oh, I'm done. I'm not going to help anymore. Fine. They tell George to tear up the black spot. So that was pretty funny. And Silver says, put it back in the Bible. So
about this time I was like, where's crazy guy? He's
yeah,
been gone for a long time.
Good question. They're off to find the treasure. They see a tree, and the base of the tree, they find a skeleton. They know who this person is and how he was killed. Maybe the skeleton is pointing to another treasure, to the doubloons. So they're off, with some lovely map painting again.
Yeah.
Yes, map painting is on point through here. Yeah.
Pirates believe they found it and begin to fight amongst themselves immediately, which I thought was great. Little acting moment, like shoving each other out of the way. But the treasure is gone. And Silver seems to get very aggravated. He tells Jim to stand by for trouble. They find 1 measly guinea. Well, George says he's made a deal with the doctor and reaches for his pistol. But Silver is quicker and fires first. Even throws his crutch, which I thought was hilarious.
That was great.
The Brits are lying in wait and did some extra shooting. And old Ben Gunn brings back his crutch and says he has the treasure in Ben Gunn's cave. There you go.
But this was totally like Quentin Tarantino's Treasure Island, because Silver shoots George, but then he pulls out 2 more guns that he's got like stowed away, and like double fisting shoots the 2 other guys.
I did think that was a funny little thing of him like having Jim stow the pistol, but he has like all this, it's like it was a funny little payoff. But Ben Gunn has a whole treasure in his cave full of gold. Kind of a cool little setup he has here in the production standpoint. Silver's getting mighty twitchy-eyed. You guys know how to twitch your eyes like nobody can twitch your eyes like Newton.
No, boof. Shy could do it.
Yeah.
You think Shy could do it? Yeah,
I think Shy. Yeah.
This whole section, like poor old parrot's like hanging on for dear life whole time.
Yes. All I could watch was the parrot.
Trying not to fall off.
Well, we've not talked about that, Robert. What do you think of the parrot acting?
Yeah.
It was marginal at best.
Marginal at best. Man's
I thought that he could have delivered his lines better, and they were sort of like disjointed too. Like, yeah, I mean,
come on.
I don't know.
You expect more from a parrot.
Pieces of there could have been a pause in there, Anyway. Well, the captain asks what Silver has to say for himself, and Jim and the doctor vouch for him. He says they can testify in court. Go put Silver in irons. He hands Jim the parrot for safekeeping. Jim says he can't. Does one of his like, I cannot watch the parrot be sad. He will not something. But I'm like, I wouldn't want a freaking parrot.
Yeah, I just really don't want to pair it, is the truth of it.
But they're off to the ship. So that's the end, right? Nope. In the rowboat, Silver gets the jump on the Brits somehow. Like, look over there. Whoop, 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 whoop. Grabs
Got your gun.
Grabs Jim's pistol and makes him jump off the boat. There is a lot of laughter from Long John as he's watching the Brits swimming here, guys.
Yeah.
A lot of adrenaline, I guess. He says if Jim will help him get to the boat, he'll drop him off on his way. But Jim runs the boat aground. I was like, man, just help him out. You know, like, what's the point at this point? What are we doing? Long John holds the gun up to him and says, shove him off. But Jim refuses. Silver drops his gun. He can't manage to kill him, guys. So maybe it's a little bit more than just an insurance policy. Maybe he sees something in Jim Hawkins, just like Walt did in Bobby Driscoll.
I'll put you in a movie, lad.
He reminds me of myself from Marceline and my dreaming tree. By this time, the Brits are making their way through the water, which is kind of funny. And Jim indeed does shove off Silver in his boat. So, Jim helping out. And
like, what are you doing, man?
Oh, come on, let him go. He manages to escape. John says, I might have known you'd never abandon your old shipmate. We see him strike a sail in open water as the Brits catch up to Jim.
Which I was like, where'd that come from?
Good question. Say sharks may get him yet. Doctor says he almost wishes him good luck. But we see that Silver wishes Jim good luck, and Jim waves a teary farewell, and we reach the end.
Goodbye, matey. Good luck, Dewey.
Lost him. I could almost find it in my heart to hope he makes it.
What happened to Ben Gunn?
He went off with the Brits.
Was he with them?
Forget me.
We don't know that though. They don't. It's a terrible ending. They don't resolve anything.
It's not really resolved. I didn't stick around for the end of the credits. Did they do like a MCU type thing?
A ship comes out of the sky.
It's like the multiverse. They get a Matacumbe.
Peter Ustinov shows up as Blackbeard's ghost.
Have you ever been to Bay Lake? Well, there we go. Treasure Island. First live action, full length live action Disney movie. A little different than the stuff we've been watching, I would say.
Yeah, a little bit.
Absolutely.
I guess we should rate this sucker using our custom rating system, our patented rating system. Every episode, it's a little different. What are we rating with tonight, Robert?
Well, we're going to rate with a plot device that had me looking up recipes for a possible Andy's. Andy will try it. Tonight, we're going to be rating against plum duff.
I thought you were going to say double rum. I was like, I'll try that.
No problem. Grog. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 5 rounds of plum duff, what do you give the plot and writing, Michael?
I'm going to give it it's hard to say because they're adapting something that is fixed in stone because it is the book upon which it is based. My biggest problems with the movie are early in the movie when everybody's just really dumb for no good reason and should be well aware of what is going on. And I don't like the coincidence with the guy's sparkly suitcase being just sitting out for no reason. But I mean, I like the dialogue though. Like the dialogue throughout is really fun and piratey. Gosh, I guess I'll give it a 3 just to ding it for people being dumb. But I do like all the pirate stuff.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on the 3. For me, it's the third act, which again, like you say, they're adapting a classic, so you can't do much to it. It's like I usually ding things for going on too long, and I thought it did go on too long in a way, but like almost they could have put a little bit more in there to like pace it out a little bit better, because at the end it was kind of like, haha, but I have this. Well, I've got this. And what about this? And it's like, yeah, there needs to be like something where they're like, oh, we got to eat some food and take a break. Well, but I got this. I don't know. So yeah, I'll say 3, but they were, like you said, there were some amazing lines in there. And again, there, we talk about the Christmas Carol just right before this. Who knows what is actually from the book and what's not, but when you got good source material, that's what you get. Good lines. So, all right, let's go to Robert.
I'm going to go with a 4 because I think the dialogue pushes it up for me. I agree with everything you've said, but I think some of the lines in there, I can't imagine they're all ad-libbed by Robert Newton.
Right.
Yeah. So that makes it a 4 for me.
Andy, how many plum duffs?
I completely agree with everything you said. I'll even add like old Ben. I think he could have been removed. I don't think he really added that much, except he just the surprise. Like, yeah, I moved the stuff. It's like
I just moved it right over here.
Done, yeah, but yeah, you're right. Just great lines. Of course, I love the idea of pirates going off or the double crossing and that kind of stuff. I thought that was great. But so yeah, I'm going to go with a 3 plum duff as well.
Okay, we're going to go to casting and acting. I'm going to stick with you, Andy. What you got for us?
This was tough for me. I'm in between the 3 and a 4. I thought Long John. I thought he was great. I mean, to be that iconic, in order to like establish pirate lingo like he did, I think that performance like that would have to be fantastic. And so I thought that was great. I thought there was I thought the doctor did well. But then like, what's his name? The squire, that guy drove me nuts. But I thought the captain was good. And so I'm just like, I'm borderline. I don't know which way to go, but there's another category that I feel the same way. So for this one, I think I'm going to go 4 on this one.
Okay.
4 plum duffs. Yeah.
Michael, what do you want to give it?
I'm going to give it a 4. I think I agree with everything Andy said. And I like the captain. I like the doctor. I wish the doctor had been given a little bit more to do just because I liked him a lot.
It's like a Leslie Howard character. It's like,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I wasn't wild about Bobby at the start until he got kind of hard boiled, and then I liked him. but when he was just sort of the wide eyed, naive, which I mean, I guess that's the character, so I can't ding him too hard for that. But yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Okay. I'm going to go down to a 3. But I'm with you, Andy, in that I don't know. And some of this is like the time period it was made in, and the fact that, like Michael said earlier, it just doesn't feel quite yet like a Disney movie. It just feels a little older than that. But some of this is into that. But I just didn't like a lot of the acting. I did not like Bobby Driscoll. I felt like Bobby was a little past his prime in this one. But I did, of course, Robert Newton's great. I also thought the doctor was great, but some of it was just too, like, I don't know. Oh, like the pirates, just like, we've discussed and we've decided we don't want to be in your crew anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, but that's like also was the style of the time. So it's hard to rate. So I'm just going to go middle.
Yep.
We'll throw it to Robert.
I'm going to go with 4. It was the only thing that really brought it down for me was Driscoll's performance. I didn't think he was great. His acting just seems stiff to me, and especially when you're acting alongside Robert Newton, who I thought hit it out of the park.
Yeah,
I loved every scene he was in.
Great.
So I mean, if it hadn't been for that, if they had had Moochie in there instead of
Driscoll,
then
you got to fight fire with fire.
But in all seriousness, though, Tommy Kirk would have been really good.
Yeah. Tommy Kirk would have been great in this.
It would have been really good. Production value. I will start this one off, and I'm going to give this a 4, a strong 4. I thought that this was really good. I didn't really love the music as much as some of the other films we've watched, but I thought the matte paintings and all the cinematography and the sets and stuff were excellent. Wouldn't quite give it a 5, but really good. Michael?
Yeah, I'll give it a strong 4 as well. I think everything looked great. I like the fact that they shot stuff on location, had a real ship that they shot on, a real ship sort of reconstructed from the period. And yeah, it looked great. The matte shots looked great. The production design of like all the inns and the taverns and everything was really fun. So yeah, big, strong 4.
Andy?
I agree completely. There was nothing that looked cheap or there was nothing that pulled me out of the movie when I saw it, except probably the closest thing may have been the glittery chest of Billy Bones.
Of course.
But everything else I thought looked fantastic. And so I'm going to go with a 4 as well.
And Robert?
I was going to go with a 5, but there's 2 things that bothered me. I think the music never captured me at all. Mm-mm. And then there were a couple of scenes in the beginning, I think in Act 1, where they had a ship on a set, and then the backdrop was just really poorly painted. And that took me out of the scene. I just kept seeing that, and it was just painfully obvious that they were on a set there.
Did anyone else notice that?
I did not.
I did not either. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's right there when they're loading up the ship at the very beginning. They're getting ready to set sail there in the harbor in Bristol. It jumped out to me immediately. So, but maybe it was just me, but I'll dig it for that. And that's what I would have given it a 5 if it hadn't been for those 2 things.
Okay. Well, we're going to end up with entertainment value. I'm going to stick with you, Robert. What do you give this movie in plum duff form?
I think, for entertainment value, I love this movie. There's not a lot that turns me off from it. And I mean, I've watched it a lot, and I guess it's nostalgia that I watch it with my dad. I watched it with my kids. I guess I just enjoy it, and it's a 4 for me.
Okay. Andy?
This is in the other category that I was between a 3 and a 4. But because I went with a 4 on the casting and acting, I'm going to go with a 3 on this because I'm being a little bit more objective about it. I don't have a history with this. So just taking it for what it is, I don't feel like I can give it a 4, but it wasn't bad, but it's not something that I think I would be like, yeah, let's everyone sit down and watch Treasure Island. So if it's on, maybe watch it, maybe not. So I feel like that's worthy of a 3.
I agree with you. I found it interesting to watch from a historical perspective, but I would not turn it off if it came on. But to me, it was, and like I've said several times, a lot of it's just of like when it was and the kind of movie it was. I feel like, those movies got a lot better in the decades to follow, the adventure swashbuckling movies. But it just was kind of neutral to me. So I'm going to give it a 3. We'll end with my brother, Michael. What do you give it?
This is like a classic 3.5 for me if we had half a duff. I agree with everything you said. I don't know. I enjoyed it more as it went along, really. And as the sort of action ramped up, and as I said before, as like Jim becomes less of like a dope and really gets wise to what's going on. And I liked all the twistiness to the end. So I'll give it a 4. Yeah, it's something I'd watch if it was on. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's punch these numbers into our computer that wore tennis shoes, see what Treasure Island gets.
All right. Treasure Island comes in with a 3.63, putting it right above Tron and tied with a 3-way tie with The Journey of Natty Gann Revisited and The Love Bug.
I'm surprised Tron was that low with just knowing the people involved.
Yeah, me too.
I tanked that, I think.
Yeah, Robert hated it.
I didn't enjoy Tron that much.
I understand that.
So we're right there at number 14.
Well, there you go. Well, we have said what we have to say about this movie. We're going to set off on our own little tiny ship. before we do, let's see what Leonard Maltin had to say about this one. Michael?
Leonard Maltin says, it's one of Disney's all-time best live-action films and a truly outstanding adventure tale that puts most of its more contemporary imitations to shame.
Well,
he liked it.
He loved it.
He likes it.
Well, there you go. Treasure Island. What a movie. What are we going to watch next, Robert? What's coming up down the road here?
Well, we've survived another holiday season, but the adventure continues, and we're dipping our toe into some uncharted waters. Well, actually, we've sailed past this cove. That is the 1990s, once before with The Rocketeer. But this time we're heading back for an iconic 90s movie that spawned multiple sequels, a Disney Plus series, and lots and lots and lots of merchandise. And oh yeah, an NHL hockey team came from this movie. That movie, of course, is The Mighty Ducks. And I'm sensing a little apprehension from some of my society members here on this one. What are our thoughts here, guys?
Well, I will say that I personally have never seen this.
Wow.
Oh, same here. I've never seen it.
I don't think I've seen it.
Dubious.
No,
I'm the only one who's seen it.
No, I think I have seen it. But, this is a wife. This is a movie my wife holds in high regard. It's kind of in the middle of a lot of her movie Venn diagram, mostly surrounding the time it was made.
She likes skating movies.
She does. She likes that weird one that came out around the same time. What was that called?
Oh, God, what was that one? It was about the hockey player and the figure skater that team up.
Gosh,
she loves that movie.
So many girlfriends
she
like
likes
that movie.
Cool Runnings.
Buffy's sister in it.
Yeah. She's really big
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings fan. So this is, she's very excited that we're doing this. Also, I never watched this movie as a youth, but I did have a Mighty Ducks hat that I loved.
You did.
It's great.
Mighty Ducks of Anaheim at the Anaheim Pond.
Can we talk about why this movie would spawn an NHL franchise and how Michael Eisner that is? It's just...
Well, I mean, the answer is Michael Eisner.
Yeah, and probably his kid is really the answer.
Yeah, very true. Very
this
true.
Stuff's lame. We need a hockey team.
This is a great idea.
Hello. How about a hockey team?
Hello. I'm in a hockey arena. Well, I mean, I'm excited because I think it's a real change of pace. It's good to mix it up. It's good.
This is our first 90s movie, set in the 90s.
This is a real 90s movie, I think. So,
Wait, was Lohan Freaky Friday 90s?
No, it was all.
It was 2003, I believe, 2002.
Had Tina Fey in it.
Tina Fey wasn't in that.
I was kidding.
You're thinking of Mean
Girls. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, we're at the halfway point. And as you can tell from my memory, we're an equal distance from the beginning to the end. There's no point in turning back now. In the next weeks, the season 5 lineup will be revealed in a secret envelope under the tightest of security. It's right there in Robert's little hope chest with his little RM on the glitter.
Yeah, sparkly art.
We'll be finding out. This little child will be coming through and we're going to steal it off his person. But there's still time to sway the founder's mind, Mr. Founder himself, on what comes next season. Why don't you let him know what you want to see at the usual spots? That's info@medfieldfilm.com on email and at medfieldfilm on social media. No TikTok.
Yar! I'm a pirate, and I be looking for some top-shelf graphic designer who ain't a given to rum a-drinking, nor quarrelsome like others I shall not name.
Wait, I don't have it in me, Robert. I'm sorry. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know what this... I didn't see that below. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know what to do. If you're new to our shenanigans, just go to bindandgraphics.com. That's BYDAND graphics.com. And look Todd Naprick up. He does the graphic job for us and he makes us look good. He's been with us since day one, and that's all you really need to know.
I just scared the crap out of my dog. Oh, well, so for all of us here at the Medfield College Film Society, to all of you, mind your lovers, or whatever they say. And we'll see you next time on Center Ice for the Mighty Ducks.
Proud are we of mighty Medfield, alma mater dear. All your sons and daughters hail to thee, Medfield College of Technology. And while we hold your banner high, rock, rock, we shout your praises to the sky, rock, rock. For proud are we of mighty Medfield, loyal